It had its origins in 1977 when Warren Buffett wrote a letter to the shareholders of Berkshire Hathaway talking about the phenomenon. Warren Buffett used the phrase, he was actually referring to what we call coverage creep. In other words, insurance companies write a policy that they think covers certain risks, and then society, and especially juries, interpret that policy to cover much more than what the insurer who issued the policy thought was covered. And so the insurance companies, especially the liability insurance companies of Berkshire Hathaway, didn't have such a good year in 1977. About 6 years ago, insurers resurrected the phrase social inflation to describe why losses in the liability lines were accelerating faster than general economic inflation. And in February of 2022, a couple of actuaries by the name of Jim Lynch and Dave Moore studied social inflation from an actuarial perspective and issued a report to the Casualty Actuary Society about social inflation accounting for $20 billion of losses in the commercial auto liability line of insurance, which added 14% to losses, more than inflation from the period of 2010 to 2019. In that report, they also found evidence that the same was true for the medical professional liability line of insurance, but they needed to use a different data set in order to evaluate effects of social inflation in the medical professional liability line. So the doctor's company actually approached Mr. Lynch and Mr. Moore and asked them to carry out their research on medical professional liability and in the social inflation context. And they did that and issued a report in August of 2022 that indicated that social inflation added somewhere between $2.4 billion and $3.5 billion to losses, or another 8 to 11% of losses beyond those which were produced by general economic inflation from 2012 to 2021. More troubling is their finding that there was a drastic acceleration of social inflation beginning in 2017. So those were the first actuarial studies that actually confirmed that the phenomenon of social inflation was real and that it was something that we had to deal with as an industry. And it's present in other lines of insurance besides medical professional liability, but it has a very profound effect on medical liability insurers.